The last 5 years has been an interesting time. We had the pandemic, we've had high geopolitical tensions. All of these have culminated into costs being generated, which are then being passed on to the consumers. Reimagining the supply chains with leveraging technologies was a top priority. How are you improving productivity and operations through generating content, managing content, taking it down to agentic AI? We actually built a in-store model for them to reduce their shrink and their markdown cost. You can now scale it across multiple products, multiple stores. This is how we actually recommend that companies start to think about innovation at scale.
Today we're diving into the complex world of Canadian retail, focusing on how the sector is navigating the twin pressures of inflation and supply chain instability. Hi everyone, and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast, where we explore the strategic insights and innovative solutions driving growth across Canada's economy. Today we're diving into the complex world of Canadian retail, focusing on how the sector is navigating the twin pressures of inflation and supply chain instability. Because in a competitive market where consumer demand is shifting and geopolitical factors are influencing pricing, understanding how to apply intelligence and technology is crucial for resilience. Our guest brings over 15 years of experience in advisory and data analytics, helping clients realize the tangible value of data-powered enterprises. Joining us is Vinayak Madappa, the strategic advisory partner for Capgemini Canada. Vinayak has held positions with PwC and KPMG and now works with clients across major sectors like utilities, banking, and retail. Capgemini, one of the world's largest management and IT consulting companies, has served the Canadian marketplace for over 24 years, helping companies with applications, consulting, and technology projects. Today, we'll discuss lots, including how retailers are adapting to inflation, the new tech driving retail, the feasibility of local sourcing to impact affordability, and the future of growth in Canadian retail. So now, without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Vinayak. Vinayak, we're very pleased to have you on the show today. How are you?
Good to be here, Maheen. We're doing very well. Thanks for having me back again.
Very pleased to have you with us for the second time, and we hope to unveil more, consumer reports from Capgemini in the future as well. But today, Vinayak, we are here to kind of tap into the adapting to inflation and keeping prices manageable for SMBs. That's a hot topic. Grocery prices, they keep climbing, and shoppers are feeling the strain due to factors like tariffs, weather disruptions, and currency weaknesses. And we'd love to kind of start with how retailers are adapting to keep prices manageable. With all this happening, please tell us, how are Canadian retailers managing costs and keeping shelves stocked while maintaining affordability?
That's a very topical question. It's a great question. The last 5 years has been an interesting time. It's been times as never seen before. We had the pandemic, we've had high geopolitical tensions, we've had commodity instability due to climate changes, and most recently the impact of the tariffs, right? All of these have culminated into costs being generated, which are then being passed on to the consumers. And as you called out, it hits all our back pockets. So one of the ways we're starting to see retailers address this situation is by rethinking their supply chains.
Mm-hmm.
Most recently, in our 2025 supply chain report, we saw that the respondents, 70% of our respondents said that reimagining their supply chains with leveraging technologies was a top priority and a focus for them.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, optimizing data, analytics, and AI to drive better insights into consumer preferences, product availability, and product placement makes sure that we have the right product at the right place at the right price point. So this would help with kind of protecting the basket size, the profitability, and the margin pressures that consumers see, that companies see today.
highlights a very vital and strategic challenge, and it's clear that retailers are under immense pressure to optimize every step of their supply chain to mitigate the cost increases. Now let's explore a crucial strategy for resilience, which is leveraging innovation and new technologies.
Yeah.
The key to retail resilience today is often the adoption of disruptive technology and the digital transformation. Please tell us, how are technologies like AI, predictive analytics, and digital twins helping retailers improve supply chain and boost resilience?
Well, we all know AI is the big buzzword, but I think what's very important to understand is AI has multiple components, and the utilization of AI in the appropriate dimensions is critical. So, what I mean by that is AI in its traditional form of RPA has now progressed to AI driven process automation.
Right.
So, how do we utilize that to really drive automation of manual tasks, repeatable tasks, which don't need a person involved in there? As you move from there into the generative AI space, how are you improving productivity and operations through generating content, managing content in especially areas like marketing, leveraging AI to reduce your cost of operations? So that's the intelligent operations angle. And then taking it down to what you're hearing about agentic AI and agent-based AI, this is where companies are looking at how to optimize which processes are ripe for change to leverage these agents, which would act similar to how humans react in picking up those signals, analyzing the data, and triggering an outcome. So, this is a critical aspect of how the operating model needs to be relooked at. And companies are investing a lot of money and time in identifying the right domains. Now, on the flip scenario, there's a trade off. When you talk about AI, it comes with the back end technology. So, balancing the cost of ownership with the business productivity to actually give you the customer the final business value is a critical component we're seeing of the decision making in AI process.
Right.
Now, outcomes for this would be better insights into consumer trends, improving triggers in near real time basis, allowing for the marriage with digital twins, which is the virtual models for scenario planning, to be able to create the right triggers and predict where we could see potential breakpoints in our process, where we could see potential impacts if we see a disruption, let's say with additional tariffs being applied in the Asian market. What's the counter? If we have to invest in the local market, how do we actually model that out? AI with digital twins is a powerful tool. And we've actually been helping retailers design some of these dimensions, especially in logistic planning and warehouse management, to drive down that operational cost and be able to be more attractive in the cost pricing.
That is a clear overview of the tech solutions, Vinayak, and it highlights how applied intelligence, or AI, is moving retailers from reactive to a very proactive management. Now let's discuss the role of local sourcing and its potential impact on affordability. Because Vinayak, in response to global instability and supply chain risks, there's growing interest in sourcing more locally and building regional supply hubs in Canada. How feasible is regional and domestic sourcing for smaller Canadian retailers, and how could it impact pricing and supply reliability?
In my opinion, I do think that this is a great opportunity for the Canadian economy to pivot. I think, as we said, the last 5 years have exposed certain weaknesses in the global supply chain. And it's actually interesting that we saw over 50% of the respondents actually say they're rethinking their supply chain operating models for insourcing and local production and manufacturing. Now, this gives an opportunity for both the Canadian government as well as retailers to opt to take these investments now and actually promote local community-based farming, production, manufacturing, which would reduce cost, limit the time to market, and by default, hopefully drive down cost. So, in our opinion, we are seeing that this shift is in the right direction. Technology has made it easier than before to be able to make these changes and pivot these operating models. And we're already starting to see this in the not in the retail space, but let's say in the automotive space. You're seeing companies, in the news today, moving production down south. So the tariffs are having the desired impact for America, but from a Canadian market, we need to incentivize Canadian companies, small and medium enterprises, to actually invest in boosting the local supply chain.
Right.
Additionally, I do think that Canada has got a great setup in terms of hubs. You've got the ports in strategic locations, both in the eastern and western parts of Canada. How do you retailers can really think about expanding their distribution footprint with maybe smaller warehouses or central fulfillment centers to get closer to consumers like you and me?
Right.
And this would allow again for reduced cost of consumption. Plus it plays into a sustainability angle where you can start to reduce your carbon footprint. So all of these aspects will really give is going to give the opportunity in the next 3 to 5 years as we go from 2025 to Horizon 2 in 2030, the opportunity for Canada to transform its business model.
Yeah, that's a very practical question, and it kind of balances the consumer demand for local products with the economic realities of supply and demand in Canada. Listeners, if you are struggling to adapt to inflation and supply chain pressures, please learn from this conversation that we had with Vinayak on the new innovations driving retail resilience, the importance of data-powered enterprises, and what the future of affordability looks like in the Canadian market. Now we'll take a short break. Please don't go nowhere because when we return, Vinayak will share some practical and cost-effective strategies that small and independent retailers can use to stay competitive and build stronger customer relationships.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. Still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep, healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah, well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep, that's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's jump right in as Vinayak walks us through how smaller retailers can boost resilience, embrace innovation, and stay ahead in a rapidly changing retail landscape. Now let's look at the practical steps that small and independent retailers can take to stay competitive. Vinayak, because Capgemini is a global firm, but many of its customers are small and mid-sized enterprises. Which is who we target and who are our listeners. Please tell us, what are some low-cost ways that smaller retailers can use technology and data to stay competitive and build customer loyalty?
So that's a great question. I think in today's economy, you talked about data. Data is everything. It's the importance of data, the ability to use data effectively is a critical aspect. I think companies need to really look at investing in their data and investing in the data quality. This is the critical step in all process, and there's various ways you can go about it.
Right.
I think the second aspect on that is improving your ability to migrate from traditional legacy environments to cloud-based services. What this allows you is will give companies the agility and the horsepower for computing, which is needed for advanced analytics, digital twins, AI models. Otherwise, your investment cost is going to be extremely high because you're adding more infrastructure. Now, that being said, you got to balance the pressures of operational costs with capital costs. And I think that's where companies are trading off. So our advice to a lot of companies is, and we've done this and piloted this, is start small, scale quickly, fail fast. If you are able to identify a specific domain, a specific demography, a specific audience segment, test your hypothesis, identify a scale plan, and then if the hypothesis fails, fail fast and move to the next use case. A good example of something we did recently with one of our European retailers was we actually built a in-store model for them to reduce their shrink and their markdown cost on their grocery products, especially fresh and meat. This allowed the in-store analytics. By moving to a hybrid cloud, we were able to create the analytics and the near real-time insights, which allowed for decisions to move the product from the grocery section to the interdepartmental transfer process to the salad bar or the meal kits, and also through the donations as needed, as it near expiration dates. Once we were able to build a hypothesis and prove the value, you can now scale it across multiple products, multiple stores. So this is how we actually recommend that companies start to think about innovation at scale.
That is a very practical and a very empowering advice. Thank you so much, Vinayak, for that. And it really provides a clear, low-risk roadmap as well for small retailers to compete effectively. Now, finally, let's kind of discuss Capgemini's vision for applied intelligence and the future of Canadian retail. Vinayak, you enjoy working with clients on AI, helping them realize the tangible value of data-powered enterprises. Please tell us, what is your long-term vision for affordability and growth in Canadian retail, and how will Capgemini support businesses in adapting to the digital landscape?
So Capgemini, as you're aware, we cover everything from strategy to execution, right? And I think there are areas we're extremely strong at, next areas that we're continuing to invest in. Most recently, as you're aware, you may or may not have heard, we acquired WNS, which is a global process transformation organization, which is leveraging AI to drive process innovation. Now, coupling that with our existing operations, our strategy arm, our global outreach, we are now able to bring these innovations to customers to reimagine their business process transformation, their business initiatives. We are exploring with companies, large and small, how to identify new revenue opportunities. An untapped market in the retail space is on retail media networks. We've seen companies make investments in retail media networks to optimize their existing digital footprint or their in-store footprint for monetizing what was traditionally trade promotion management.
Right.
Most recently, we partnered with a US-based retailer where we actually picked a specific set of product catalog items to drive revenue through retail medias, and that was another area we really helped customers grow. Another area is in intelligent operations in specific domains like marketing, in store operations, where we are able to now provide information at the fingertips of the agents or the employees to be able to access, troubleshoot, and solve for issues in a more proactive manner. So those are some of the areas Capgemini really plays well in. We are extremely proud of some of the capabilities that we deployed. And in essence, one of the underlying areas that we really excel at is also in the overall application management. So once you have your infrastructure set up, how do we actually manage that infrastructure? Make sure you keep the lights on, make sure there's limited disruptions to the consumer, to the store, to the operations. That is another area we believe is being driven through AI application development and management services. So those are some of the key domains Capgemini is really helping companies transform the way they deliver their services.
It's a very inspiring vision, Vinayak, and it's clear that data and strategic partnership, they are key to the future health and growth for Canadian retail. But this has been an overall great conversation yet again with you, Vinayak. I mean, the vision that you shared today is really focused on empowering the Canadian retail sector to really leverage the AI that is out there and digital transformation to ensure long-term affordability and growth. Now that we wrap up, if there's one key message that you want our listeners to take away about navigating today's economic challenges with confidence, what would it be?
As I mentioned earlier, the technology evolution that's happening today is super exciting. It is evolving at a pace that not seen before.
Right.
If you said 10 years ago about agentic AI, people didn't know that concept, right? It was an alien concept. So one, there is amazing innovation that's allowing us to identify what the next Horizon 2, Horizon 3 plans are going to be. The second message I want to say is that innovation is also pushing the boundaries in terms of production and manufacturing. We are seeing companies invest their dollars into things like biolabs for lab-grown meats. We're seeing vertical farming and how you invest in vertical farming to increase your production. We see that the opportunity to scale greenhouse-based farming, at least in the grocery sector, which is where the biggest impact is for us, uh, uh, as an opportunity to scale. Ontario is known as the hub for greenhouses, but how do we scale that to the rest of Canada? Yes, we have weather conditions to manage, but with greenhouse, how do we balance that sustainability and the production capacity in our various provinces? How do we use that as a revenue generation mechanism for exports? Why don't we become an export hub? So it's not a single answer I have. I know I've given you multiple answers, but I think in essence, what I'm trying to say is that the the technology is there to support all these innovations, and companies need to define their clear path as to what they want to achieve, and then make those strategic directives to get us to it.
That is powerful and that is very actionable. Thank you so much for breaking that down for our audience today, Vinayak. And thank you again for being here with us and for sharing such great vision and your expertise with us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Maheen. I appreciate it.
And that was an insightful conversation with Vinayak on how Canadian retailers are adapting to inflation and supply chain pressures, the new technologies and innovations driving retail resilience, and the future of affordability and growth in Canadian retail. Thank you again for tuning into the podcast. We really appreciate your continued support. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more expert insights and resources that can help your business thrive. You can also visit our website, CanadianSME.ca, for valuable information and tools. A special shout out to our partners, RBC, UPS, A1 Global College, ADP, and Google, for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses in Canada. Until next time, please keep innovating and thriving for success. We'll see you in the next episode.